Hi guys, I'm a bit of a 80s throwback when it comes to gaming. I used to love going down the arcades and playing Shinobi and Street Fighter 2 and Pac-Man and Gallagher and Gauntlet and so on. So when I moved to the United States, I decided to build myself a video gaming cabinet. I didn't want to just be restricted to one game such as Street Fighter 2 or Bomberman. I wanted to have the whole range of arcade games available on me, and maybe a bit extra. So I built a machine, and I'm going to show you that machine just now. So this is my arcade machine. As you can see, it's titled Lindsay's Mame Arcade because it actually runs a multiple arcade machine emulator inside it. This is a standard arcade cabinet. It used to host Capcom vs SNK game, which you can see the Capcom logo down here. I have since actually expanded the machine so it now has original arcade joysticks and 6 buttons on each side, as opposed to the 4 on each side when I got the cabinet. You can see it has coin slots on either side here, and it has some custom expansions which I'll take you through in a minute. Looking around the back of the machine, we can actually see, if I open up the door here and duck down, we have the original arcade monitor in place here. And the controls which used to be on the back of the monitor to adjust contrast and brightness, I've moved to the front, which I'll show you in a minute. And down here we can see a normal PC. Now the end of this cable here goes to the jammer connector at the front of the machine, which I'll show you in a minute. The audio from the PC is also connected to the jammer connector, again I'll show you. And the keyboard is also connected to that jammer connector. The power from the PC runs down, and we can see it plugs into the back of the power supply which went to the original arcade monitor, and then we get our power from here. The machine internally is pretty empty on the inside otherwise because we don't have the original board. We have the PC which you can see I've mounted on the inside of the machine, and then the jammer connector. I'll take you inside the machine here. You can see the circuit board connected to a standard jammer connector, and that's the VGA connector coming out. And that's the PS2 connector going to the keyboard, and the 2 wires are the audio which got the sound card. The result of this is we end up with a closed machine, which as you can see on the back it's very flush, and at the front we look at the machine and you can see it just looks like a normal arcade machine. In reality we have a PC powering it inside. Now for the software. What I'm going to do now is turn the machine on. You can see here I have an extension plug plugged in. I just turn it on, and one power switch will actually take care of powering the whole machine up. So while the machine turns on, I'm going to just turn the light off a second, and then we'll see the machine spark into life any second now. Now you may have heard the fan start running there at the back of the PC. That's actually the arcade cabinet, and you can see the lights coming on. So if we look at the screen, you just caught a post boot up screen which came up there, and it's now going to actually boot the PC. So we should see a similar PC boot up. Operating system wise, I'm running a very cut down version of Windows XP, which basically has nothing running. There's hardly any services installed, there's no Terminate Stay Resident programs installed. It's running a bare minimum Windows XP, so that it can have as much memory free for the operating system as possible. And you'll see it's in a very, very low screen mode as well. This is due to it using a 50Hz arcade monitor. So up we come into Windows, and then we'll take a look at the software. So now what we're looking at is the Mame front end which I run, which has a built-in MP3 player, which is the music you're hearing. And then I customised the user interface here so we can see a menu of the games which are available on the left. We see a total number of games, 3,494 on the right, and a little preview of the game that we can try. So here I've got Street Fighter 2 selected. Like I said, we could use up and down to select something different. Let's choose Street Fighter 2, and we hit our one player button. We hit it and the game instantly loads up, and this has now become the Street Fighter 2 arcade machine. So now that the machine has actually become Street Fighter 2, for all intents and purposes this machine doesn't know the difference now. So if we step back, we've got our coin slots down here. I can place a credit in, and the credit goes in just like it would on a real machine. And we hit the one player button, and we can come in and choose our character. Once our character is selected, we can obviously play, and as you can see, the experience is exactly like an arcade machine. Everything does exactly the same thing and it runs perfectly. Now if we want to exit the game, we can exit just by holding down the 1 and 2 player buttons, which I had to do with my elbow there, but there we go. In addition to having a large collection of arcade machines, the Mame front end I've got set up also hosts other emulators. So if I actually press the 1 player button and tap the middle button, you'll see the screen change to Nintendo 64, and we can now load up a Nintendo 64 game. So I loaded up Mario 64. This obviously won't require me putting any money in, but as you can see, it's a perfectly running version of Mario 64. It's configured to work perfectly with the arcade controllers. So you'll see I've actually configured everything so it runs over the joystick as usual. And we can just select what we're doing. And we'll be able to go into the game. That's if I can hit the button. And so on. So that's how you run a Nintendo 64 on an arcade machine. Nintendo 64 isn't the only thing I have on here. If I go to the next game set, you'll see I actually have 1180 Super Nintendo games. So we can go in and, for instance, if we wanted to play Super Mario Kart, just select Super Mario Kart, it will load up, and as with the Nintendo 64, we don't need to put any credits in there. We can just go straight in. Let's start a 1 player game. And here we go. So it's going from Mushroom Cup. And as you can see, we have a perfectly working Nintendo Super Nintendo running on the arcade cabinet. There we go. But I'm playing with one hand now, so I very much doubt if I'm going to be any good at it. My hand-to-eye coordination isn't this good. Also, one of the cooler things about the machine is Daphne. If we go to the next menu, you'll see Daphne. If you remember any of them old Laserdisc games, that's what Daphne does. It converts the machine into a Laserdisc machine. So I actually loaded Dragon's Lair just now. And these games take substantially longer to load, normally about a minute, about the same as they used to in the arcade, because the game's running through a series of tests to test the Laserdisc. In fact, in this case, the Laserdisc is a file on the hard drive, but it goes through. Now you'll see some screens flash up any second now, and this is when it runs the Laserdisc initialization test. It just shows a lot of the screens out of the actual game. So there we go. As soon as this is finished, it'll initialize and go into the game, and like the original arcade games, we can use real quarters and put the quarters in, and the game will play. So Dragon's Lair has came up now, and now we can put some credits in after we watch a couple of seconds of this. Laserdisc game graphics were amazing for the time, but the gameplay left a lot to be desired. But here we go, we can go down, put our credits in, and now we have credits in, so press 1 play and we can start a new game. And just like with the original Laserdisc games, I have very limited control. I think I push up to get out of this trap here, so I'm just tapping up, and then I think I tap right to make him run. And then we're on to the next stage. I'm sure a lot of you Dragon's Lair addicts know how to play this a lot better than I do. To exit, I'd use the same as before, 1 player plus 2 player. We're back to the main menu. So that was my arcade machine. The arcade machine cabinet itself, with the monitor in with no game, cost me about $125. The PC inside it is probably a $150 PC. So we're looking for the whole project, including buying replacement joysticks and buttons. I'd say it cost me about $300 tops. And if you were to buy one of these machines off eBay right now, you'd probably pay $3,000. So, you know, either get in touch with me through my blog or take a look about the internet. They're easy to build, they're a lot of fun, and as you can see, they're very flexible. You can end up with all the games and they become the heart of the party. So, enjoy.